Hello, I am Amber Maier, and I am a graduate of Corinne's Angel Alchemy Academy. And today I want to share the magic of the Akashic Records with you. So once you get in here, let me know you're here by saying hi to me so I can see your comments and know that I am using StreamYard correctly. So, as a soul alignment coach and teacher, I love helping people discover their soul purpose, awaken their gifts, and move past all the blocks that keep you from really embracing your full purpose and power. And one of my specialties is working with and teaching the Akashic Records. And so today, I want to share the magic of the Akashic Records with you. But I also want you to experience your own power. So instead of me reading your records today, I want you to experience reading your own records so you can see what a powerful oracle you are. Oh, good. Hi, Shannon. Hi, Tracy. Good to see you. Thanks for joining me live today. So we are going to take a journey into the Akashic Records. And so today's live stream, I'm going to share just some of the very basics about the Akashic Records with you, what they are, why they're awesome, how you get into them. And then I have a fun little experiment for you so you can experience the difference between your intuition and your Akashic Records. So I'll be leading you into your very own Akashic Records today for you to get guidance on real things that you're wanting answers to in your life today. Hi, Jill. Hi, Jim. Hi, Barbara. Good to see you all. So there's just a few things you're going to want to have with you today for our session. You're going to want to have pen, paper, something that you can jot notes down on. And I want you to think about 1 to 2 real questions or topics that you want guidance on today. So I like to think about it like if I were to go get a reading today, what would be the questions I would ask? So take a moment to think about what you want to get guidance from your Akashic Records on today. And if you're having a hard time coming up with a question, some of the questions that I get most in Akashic Record readings are, what is my soul purpose? Or then maybe a follow-up is, how can I get more into alignment with my soul purpose? Other questions I get often are, what are my soul or my intuitive gifts, and how can I share them more with the world? So this is my cat Vargas. So I'm glad he's joining us today. He never wants to miss out on talking about Akashic Records. So this is my cat Vargas. He'll be helping us out today. So that is what we're going to do today. We're going to do just a quick 101 on the Akashic Records, just kind of get the down and dirty of what you need to know to be able to get into your records. And then you're going to be able to experience it for yourself. So super excited for you to experience this magic. So the first question you might be asking yourself is, what the heck are the Akashic Records? It's not the most descriptive term, is it? So if you've ever wondered, Akashic, what is that? You are not alone. That was my first reaction to the Akashic Records when I first came across that. I was at a psychic and a healing event, and I would pass by a table and it said Akashic Records. And honestly, I was like, what the heck is that? And I just kept walking. And one time I was smart enough to slow down and read a little bit more about the information that was on the table. And it said something like, open up a conversation with your soul. And I was like, that is exactly what I want. So if I were to rename the Akashic Records, I would simply call them your soul records. A lot more easy to understand, right? So the Akashic Records are an energetic recording of your soul's journey over every lifetime. I like to think about the Akashic Records like an endless library of your soul. Or even better, or maybe a little more modern, you could think about it like the internet or a database. It is an energetic space that has just tons of information about your past, your current, future lives, every choice and experience your soul has ever had. So the other thing to remember is that the Akashic Records goes beyond the single soul and also includes all knowledge gathered through all consciousness. So you can do some really awesome readings on what is happening for the collective in the Akashic Records as well. Awesome. Oh, Joanna's here. Stephanie's here. Bree, Vicky. Hey, Karen. Good to see you. So excited to hang out with all my soul best friends here. So you might have heard the Akashic Records go by different names. So Other names that you can hear for the Akashic Records include like the Book of Life, Soul Records, the Hall of Records. So if you've heard these things, typically people are talking about the Akashic Records. Melanie's here too. Hey, Carolyn, Ray. So what does Akashic mean? Because that's usually where people are like, Akashic, what the heck is that? It's formed from the word Akasha, which is a Sanskrit word that means basically primary substance out of which all things are formed. So it can loosely be translated to ether or spirit, but really is energy at its earliest state. So again, you can think of the Akashic Records like your soul records. People often visualize the Akashic Records like a great hall or a library in the heavens in order to make the idea of it a little bit more logical or more comprehensible. But in reality, the Akashic Records isn't an actual place. It's not a location. It's simply energy. It's multidimensional, and it's found on the 6th plane of existence out of 7, just under the creator of all that is. And it can be accessed through the 11th or the galactic chakra, which is the same chakra which accesses universal law and truth. So why might you want to access your Akashic Records? That might be your next question. So there are lots and lots of fun, powerful things that you can do in the Akashic Records. As a healer, I really like to think about the Akashic Records as a healing tool. And you can really get deep insight into your soul's purpose. You can understand lessons that your soul is learning in this lifetime and get answers to many other questions that you have to help you heal and move forward. So I want to briefly share a few of the powerful ways that you can discover transformational healing in your Akashic Records. And so I think one of the most fun places is learning about your soul purpose. So it can be this amazing place to really explore your life or your soul purpose. And so a lot of times you might have this big question of like, why am I here? I like feeling this like deep urge that you're here for this bigger, deeper purpose. The Akashic Records can shed a lot of light on what you're here to do and who you're here to be. And so a big part of our life is before our souls incarnate, your soul really determines what soul growth and lessons and experiences and missions that your soul wants to have in this lifetime. And so getting into the Akashic Records can give you a better idea of that. Another fun thing to do in the Akashic Records is to explore past lives. And so that's actually a question I get oftentimes from people who are like, oh, I've heard of the Akashic Records. That's where you explore your past lives, right? Well, yes, but it's only one aspect of information that's stored in your Akashic Records. So a lot of times we will get glimpses into our past lives in the Akashic Records because that might be where a pattern or a challenge started, and it can be helpful for us to understand how it started so we can release it and move forward into bigger and better things for ourselves in this lifetime. So one of the wonderful things that you can do in the Akashic Records is get a really great understanding of your lessons that you're working on in this lifetime. So a really big part of your purpose in this lifetime is to grow and develop as a soul and to increase your level of consciousness. And so if we leave a previous lifetime without mastering a lesson, we bring it into each lifetime afterwards. So lessons often show up in our lifetimes as patterns. So I bet all of you probably could pause for a moment and think about probably at least 2 frustrating patterns you have that just seem to come up over and over again in your lifetime, right? Let me know if that's popping in for you. And so it might be something like you always seem to kind of date the same person, even though they're different people, and you always end up having to take care of them. Or maybe you always just have enough money, but can't seem to get past that spot. Those would be examples of some frustrating patterns. So the Akashic Records can give you a lot of clarity on what's causing you to get stuck in those patterns and what steps you can take to release them and move out of them. A lot of times, these patterns come from unconscious belief patterns that we created in past lives, and then you can get a glimpse of what that is and do some healing to help release that and clear those beliefs and download you with new, healthier beliefs. You can do tons of healing and get a lot of understanding about your relationships in the Akashic Records. So you can really explore the purpose of relationships, the history that you've had with the important people in your life, and get a better understanding of what your souls need from each other. And then another one of my really favorite places to explore in the Akashic Records is to explore and develop your spiritual gifts. So it's a really wonderful place to be able to explore what your intuitive gifts are, maybe what's blocking you from being able to like fully realize those, so you can bring more of those gifts into this lifetime. And then lastly, Akashic Records are just an amazing place for you to do some really deep healing. It's a profoundly powerful healing tool. And so there's a ton of healing in the Akashic Records, just getting answers to your questions, because what you're doing is you're making the unconscious conscious, so you can be aware of the beliefs and causes that, and then really be able to make the decision to start to change your behaviors and your actions to be able to bring in a different outcome. The other thing to note is that the energy of the Akashic Records also vibrates at a really high rate. So just spending time in the Akashic Records is super healing and really can cast out lower energies. So there's even more fun stuff you can do in the Akashic Records, but that's just an overview. So I just want to make sure you understand what a vast, wonderful healing tool that the Akashic Records can be for you. Oh, and Shannon, you know about the Akashic Records, but never got there. Well, I'm going to show you how to get into your Akashic Records today, so you can get some guidance. So I'm going to cover a few brief things before we jump in, and you can experience the power of the Akashic Records for yourself. The first thing I'm going to share briefly is the guides that you're going to be receiving information from. So you're going to be receiving information from spiritual guides. And some of these might be angels, some of these might be past loved ones, some of these just might be other spirit guides that you have. One thing that most people have happened for them in the Akashic Records is they find that the angels and guides are often kind of nameless and faceless. So it's not, you're not seeing a connection of who exactly is giving you the information. And I actually think that that's kind of nice. It takes the pressure off of trying to figure out who's giving me this message. So if you are used to receiving messages from, say, a specific angel or guide, you may not have that happen for you in the Akashic Records. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. And then you're going to be receiving information through the Akashic Records through your spiritual senses or your intuitive senses. We like to call those your clairs. And so I know a lot of you are really quite intuitive here already, but I'm going to run through them just really briefly, just to make sure you're understanding how the information is going to come through for you. And so there's really four main clairs we're going to talk about. Most people are familiar with clairvoyance. That translates into clear seeing. And so this is the ability to receive intuitive information with images, colors, symbols. Clairaudience translates into clear hearing. This is the ability to hear what cannot be heard through your physical ears. So a lot of times you might catch words, phrases, lyrics to songs, music, that sort of thing. And Joanna, I'm seeing your comment. Are you streaming to the Love Fest with Corinne Grillo Facebook group? I should be streaming there and to her page, and as well as her YouTube page. So thank you, Joanna. Hopefully it worked, but I selected all those things. Another clair that you might be receiving information and messages through the Akashic Records is your clairsentience. This clair translates into clear feeling. And so this is the ability to gain intuitive information through feeling. And so who here feels resonates with being an empath? Let me know in the chat if you feel like you're an empath. Those who are really strongly empathic tend to have really strong clairsentience. This is being able to, yeah, Melanie, I know you are for sure. You're super clairvoyant though too. I know you've told me about some really cool visions that you've received too. So this clear feeling, you can receive information through different emotions or feelings in your body. So one way to call it would be like somatic senses in your body. So like feeling any sort of sensations, pressure, heat, cold, anything like that in or around your body. And then the other side is more like emotional clairsentience. And so like being able to feel different emotions. So you might be receiving information that way. We definitely have some clairsentience here for sure. Then the last clair is claircognizance, which translates just into clear knowing. This is the psychic skill that you just know something. You have no idea how you know it. You just know it. So it's a little bit different for everybody. More than if you have clairs that you're used to using already, that is likely how you're going to get information through the Akashic records. Some people have one or two clairs that really show up the strongest for them, and some people use really all four, just weave them all in together. And so if you're a little bit newer to doing intuitive work, what I want to share with you is that the information is going to come in a really subtle way. I think people often look for something outside of themselves to be able to like validate that it's true. Seeing something with our physical eyes, hearing something, outside of our heads with our physical ears, all of those types of things, where for most people it's a lot more subtle than that. And the reason for that, Archangel Raziel has spent a lot of time with me sharing about how our intuitive senses work. And what he really wants you to know is that spirit comes through you. You're a part of spirit. And so oftentimes it's going to look like your imagination. It's going to sound like the voice in your head. It's going to feel like your thoughts. And that's because spirit comes through you. So of course it's going to sound like you. And a really, 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 really wise woman named Corinne Grillo once shared some amazing advice with me. And she says, the sooner you accept that it feels like you're making shit up, the better off you're going to be. So I'm going to share that advice with you today too. It's probably going to feel like you're making shit up. Just accept it and move on. That's why people have a hard time sometimes trusting their intuition as they're learning to go into it, because it can sound a lot like you. It can feel a lot like you. So yeah, Stephanie, you're saying so true. Yeah. So just whatever comes in for you, if it's just like, if I were to know something, what would it be? What does this feeling mean to me? What's a word or a phrase that comes in? So just go with whatever comes to you when we get into your records. So how are we going to get into your records? That's usually the next question, right? I'm going to show you what's called a pathway prayer process to access your Akashic records. There's a variety of ways to get into the Akashic records, but one of the more common ways is to read a pathway prayer, which is a prayer that really just has an energetic imprint of the records and really sets the intention to work with the guides of the Akashic records and to move into that energy space. And so most of the time, when you're using a pathway prayer process to get into the Akashic records, there's typically an opening prayer and a closing prayer. And these typically connect you to a higher power. It seeks guidance from beings of light for the greatest good of all. It might help you reduce distractions. And it really sets the intention of connecting to truth, love, and the wisdom of the records. And so today I'm going to be sharing my screen with you when we get to that part of our fun time together today. And I'm going to share my pathway prayer with you so you can read that to get into your Akashic records. Then there's usually a closing prayer, and really that just sets the intention of closing the records safely and giving gratitude. And this one's typically a lot shorter. So what questions come up for you about the Akashic records? Go ahead and throw those in the chat. And I'm going to start chatting about the exercise we're going to do in just a little bit. Who's excited to get into your records today? I'm really excited to see you all get into your records. So what we're going to do is I'm going to share a little exercise with you where you're going to be able to experience the difference between your intuition and being in your Akashic records. It's super fun. So what we're going to do is I'm going to lead you through just a really short grounding exercise, because I suggest grounding anytime before you do intuitive information. It really helps you be present in your body and receive messages more clearly. And so we'll do that. And then I want you to write down one question you want guidance on in your life. So take a moment to do that now. It could be a really specific question to something, a challenge or a situation you have going on in your life. It could be something more open-ended, like, what's my soul purpose? Or what are the gifts that I'm here to share with the world? Those would be fun ones to know. So make sure you have your question down. And what we're going to do is, after I get us grounded, I'm going to have you ask that question to your intuition. And I'm going to give you just a minute just to receive any messages from your intuition. Jot down anything that you receive, whether it's colors, feelings, word, phrases, full messages, knowings, however that comes through for you. Then I'm going to pull up the pathway prayer, and I'm going to show you how to work through it and read it. And I'm going to have you open up your Akashic Records. And I'm going to have you do it slowly, because I also want you to experience, what does it feel like? What do I experience as I move into my Akashic Records? So a lot of people feel some different energy and have a different experience just in that before they even ask their question. And then once you've been able to experience that energy, I'm going to have you ask the same exact question that you asked your intuition. I'm going to give you just, a few minutes again to be able to receive any of that information from your guides in the Akashic Records. That's why you want your paper and pen handy, so you can take some notes. And then we'll come back. We'll close our records together. And then I want to hear about what you experienced when you moved into your Akashic Records. And then also, if you experienced any difference in between the types of messages, or how the messages felt between the information you got from your intuition in your Akashic Records. And when you move into your Akashic Records, one thing you're going to notice is, I'm not going to tell you what to expect. One thing I do want to say, though, is don't necessarily expect to see anything. A lot of people, because we like to imagine the Akashic Records as like this mystical library, or, like really old books or scrolls or things like that, sometimes that leads you to an expectation of, I'm going to have a vision that I'm going to be in this great giant library. That may happen for you, but there's a good chance that it won't. Actually, I would say probably at least 75% of people that I've taught the Akashic Records don't actually see anything. So don't feel like you're doing anything wrong if you don't see anything. So I want to point that out so you don't get stuck on that. All right, you ready to give this a shot? Try out your records. All right, let's get grounded. So if you are in a place where it's safe for you to close your eyes and relax, do that. Obviously, if you're driving or doing anything like that, safety first. Whenever I do any meditations or ground, I always like to close my eyes, just because that just immediately starts to bring your awareness within, your attention within, which is what we want to do when we ground. And so if you're able to, I invite you to close your eyes and just simply connect to your breath. Take a nice, deep, cleansing breath or two. Breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Then I invite you to bring your awareness down to the bottoms of your feet. And you have chakras on the bottoms of your feet. So I invite you just to bring your awareness to those chakras and really set the intention that you're starting to open these chakras up. Maybe you even imagine these chakras almost like having a radio dial, where you can twist the dial, and as you twist the dial one direction, they start to open up. And as you do that, I want you to imagine, see, or maybe just know that energy is starting to flow out through the bottoms of your feet. And while this happens, just notice if there's anything you feel in your feet when this happens. I often feel just like a real nice tingling sensation. My feet get a little bit warmer. It's subtle, but that's what I feel. And now I want you to imagine or just know that this energy from your feet is coming out and you're sending it down through the floor. You could see it like strands of energy. You could see this like roots of a tree. However it comes to you. And send that energy down to the surface of the earth. And with your next exhale, send that energy through the surface of the earth. And here I invite you to pause once again and just check in. What does it feel like to have your energy inside the earth? And for each of you, it might be a little bit different. Maybe it feels a little cool and moist, like you're in the shade. Maybe it feels warm and dry, like having your feet in the sun, in the sand. Maybe you just feel like it feels like a warm hug and some love from Mother Earth. Just get a sense of what that feels like. And I want you to send your energy a little bit deeper into the earth. I want you to go down deep enough where you start to find some really giant boulders, or maybe giant roots of a tree. And I want you to imagine that you're wrapping your energy around these stones or around these roots, really with the intention of like grounding yourself in place here, anchoring yourself in. And with your next inhale, I invite you to imagine that you're breathing up this beautiful, healing, loving earth energy up through the bottoms of your feet, pulling that beautiful energy up through your body. And as you exhale, I want you to imagine that you're blowing out, exhaling out any energy you don't need. I'm hearing that it would be helpful for some of you to imagine that you're exhaling out any blocks to your intuitive gifts, anything that keeps you from being able to receive your messages. Just imagine and feel yourself just exhaling that out into the earth. Okay. So now that we're nice and grounded, I want you to go ahead and ask that question that you want guidance on in your life to your intuition. And so you might even just say intuition, or maybe you say higher self, whatever you like to call it. And then ask the question. I'm going to give you just a minute or two of silence to pay attention to whatever comes in and jot down anything that comes, whether it makes sense or not. So just giving you another 30 seconds or so. So make sure you're jotting down anything you're receiving from your intuition. Okay. Now, let's come back together, and I'm going to lead you through the process of opening up your Akashic Records. And so now you should be able to see that I'm sharing my screen and I have an opening prayer in front of you. And so this is my pathway prayer to get into the Akashic Records. And so I'm just going to walk you through real quick what we're going to do before we actually do it. So you're going to see that there is some instructions. Like, so at the top, you can see that it says say out loud. So this part you're going to say out loud. And so I'll read through it first, and then I'm going to give you a chance. Then I'm going to move on and share how to do the next part with you, because it's a little bit different. So this part you will actually say out loud, creator of all that is, Archangel Jermael, Raziel, and Metatron, and all the guides of the Akasha. Thank you for allowing me to be a clear channel of the truth through the Akashic Records. Keep me grounded, present, and focused, and help me step into my highest self. I ask for the highest amount of healing and guidance available for the greatest good of all. Help me to see myself as I am seen, known, and loved in the light of the Akashic Records. Help me to access the inspiration, empowerment, and power of my soul in the Akashic Records. And help me to share the wisdom, healing, and compassion for me in the Akashic Records. And so here, that part you're going to say out loud. Then once you're done with that, you can see that the next part says say silently. And so I'm just going to read the first 3 lines of this to show you how it's done. And so this one, it's basically like you start talking about yourself in third person, but you're going to be doing this like reading it to yourself in your mind. And so here you're going to say, so if I were to be opening my own records, this is what I would say. Help me to see Amber Maureen Maier. So when you see that parentheses, your name, put your full name there. And this can, a good starting place is your current legal name. But if there's something you don't like about your legal name, feel free to use your chosen name. Either is going to work for you. So help me to see Amber Maureen Maier as she is seen, known, and loved in the light of the Akashic Records. So then you just choose whatever appropriate pronoun is for you. Help me to access the inspiration, empowerment, and power of Amber Maureen Maier's soul in the Akashic Records. Help me to share the wisdom, healing, and compassion for Amber Maureen Maier in the Akashic Records. So you'll just continue to read through that part silently, inserting your name and your pronouns. And then when you're done with that, you'll say out loud, the records are now open. So you're making a declaration that your records are now open. So in a moment, I'm going to have you start this process. What I ask you to do is just try to observe yourself in your body as you're reading the pathway prayer. Notice any sensations or feelings that you have in or around your body, particularly around in your head or your heart. And just notice what shifts and changes for you. Then I'll remind you of this as we go to, but after you announce that your records are open, I invite you just to notice anything that you feel in or around your body, anything you see, anything you hear, anything you know, just to get an idea of what it feels like to be in the records. And again, this is going to be subtle. So this is that part again, if you're not seeing anything, don't feel like you're doing anything wrong. I'm in the Akashic Records all the time, and I will tell you, I don't see a thing when I go into the Akashic Records. I receive messages with images and things like that, but actually going into the records, I don't see a great hall, a library, scrolls, any of that stuff. So if Joanna, your comment. Sorry, I just saw it made me laugh out loud. Thank you. um, so don't worry if you're not seeing anything. You might see something, but don't feel like you're doing something wrong if you don't. So let's jump in and get started. So go ahead and start to read the prayer out loud. I'll give you a few moments to do that. And once you get through the first part that you're saying out loud, read that second part silently. And once you've completed saying that second part silently, announce that the records are open out loud. And just allow yourself that moment to sit in the energy of the records. See if there's anything you see, feel, hear, or just know that's happening. What does that energy feel like? Feel free to jot down any notes about what that experience feels like. And once you give yourself a little bit of time there and you feel like you have experienced that, then I want you to ask the same exact question that you asked your intuition, but ask it to your angels and guides in the Akashic Records. So I'm going to give you just a couple minutes of silence to be able to receive any of that guidance. And if you feel like you need more information on that question, feel free to ask your angels and guides, show me more. Maybe tell me in a different way. Or if you feel like you received everything you need to know about that question, feel free to ask another one. This is your time in the records. Go ahead and ask more questions. We'll be giving you just another minute or two. And if you haven't started already, start to jot down some notes about what you receive now. Make sure you remember all the feelings and thoughts, words, images that may have come through for you. We'll come back together in just a minute. Okay, let's wrap up our notes. And if you look up at the screen, you'll see that I have scrolled now, so you can see the closing prayer. And as promised, it's a lot shorter. So go ahead and read this closing prayer out loud. And I'll read it out loud too, just in case anyone's having a hard time seeing this on their screen and you can just follow along with me. I'd like to thank the creator of all that is and all the archangels and guides of the Akasha for your love, guidance, and healing. The records are now closed. Thank you. It is done. It is done. It is done. Who here was this your first time going into your Akashic Records? Let me know in the chat. And I'm so interested in hearing about your experience. I would love if anyone would like to share in the chat what you experienced, either reading the prayer or getting into your records. And I would also love to hear about what the difference was for you between the guidance that you received from your intuition versus the Akashic Records. You don't have to give specifics on what you received if you don't want to, but just like what was different about it. I'll give you a moment to get your typing pickers on. Let me know about your experience. Vicki, yeah, I couldn't get in because your dogs caused distraction. My dog likes to do that, which is why you see my cat in my office with me and not my dog. My dog has a very, very loud voice. And Jen, you popped in late, so you're going to watch it from the beginning. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. So you can easily go back through and even just, fast forward to the part with the pathway prayer to get back in, Vicki or Jen, when you go back. So I will share about what I experienced going into the records, because I actually hear a lot of commonality. Everyone experiences the Akashic records a little bit different. So some people might feel different things, see different things, hear different things, all of these different things. But sometimes you'll see some like overlapping stuff that I see that's kind of common. And so I'll share a little bit about what I experienced too, but know that just because that's what I experienced doesn't mean that that's what you're going to experience. Everyone is different. And so, Stephanie, you received the same message with your intuition, but the images were different. The way the images came in were different, more in flow and brighter. Cool. That's awesome. And Lynn, this is your first time and it seemed much smoother and simple when you went into the records. Awesome. For me, when I read the prayer, I really, really can feel my crown chakra and my third eye opening. Like the way I can describe it is almost like every line I read down through, it's like my crown is going poof, poof, poof. Like, so that's one of my like energetic signatures of knowing that I am in the records, is like, I just feel like my crown just goes woo, just like wide open. And then like a lot of intuitive things, it's almost hard to describe the energy that I feel when I move into the records. When I say that the records are now open, I almost feel almost like a constriction of energy at first. Like the best way I can describe it is like I'm almost like I'm being pushed through like an air duct, like this skinny little space. And then I get out of it. And then it's like I'm in this like big, massive, open, peaceful space. I don't necessarily see anything, but I can just really feel that energy. It feels vast and peaceful at the same time. It's like kind of like all that is right there. It's a really beautiful feeling. Yeah. And the way that I hear a lot of people describe the difference between the information that they get from their intuition versus the Akashic records, and you all will have to let me know in the chat, is that actually, I have a student who had described it this way before, and I absolutely loved how she said this. She's like, the intuition was like the appetizer, and the Akashic records was like a 5-course meal. I thought it was a perfect way to describe it. So what a lot of people find with their intuition is it's not that one is right or wrong. Like they both like match up and they're both right. But that the intuition can feel like maybe simpler or, like a word, a phrase, a feeling, almost like abbreviated. But that when you open the Akashic records, it's almost like the information just opens up and flows. Some people say like it's hard to even like keep up with how much information is coming through. It just feels like they've really been able to like start to channel or really go with the flow. So did anyone experience the difference a little bit like that today? Let me know in the chat. Yes, it is amazing and it's so cool. I agree. It's a lot of fun. Well, and as we start to wrap up here, feel free to throw any questions you have about accessing your Akashic records in the chat too. I really appreciate you all joining me today. I hope you learned something new and fun about the Akashic records and that you received some beautiful guidance for yourself today too. And if you're interested in learning more about me or the work that I do, I have shared a link in the info about this video of a variety of different ways that we can work together. Feel free to message me directly too for more information. And if you're interested in getting an Akashic record from me, I also wanted to let you know that all my sessions are on sale just until Thanksgiving. 60-minute sessions are $50 off, 30-minute sessions are $25 off. You just have to book a session by Thanksgiving to be able to get the discount. The other thing I wanted to mention is I believe Corinne still has registration open for the Angel Alchemy Academy. And if anyone here is on the fence about that, I just wanted to tell you what a life-changing decision that was for me. It's still literally one of the best decisions I've made in my life. I even just the friendships alone that I have created from the academy are amazing. Some of my best friends years later live all over the world, and I've been able to see a bunch of them multiple times. I still, I was chatting just with, I probably chatted with 5 of my classmates from the Angel Alchemy Academy just in the last day or 2. So I really created these beautiful, beautiful friendships. And before I went into the academy, I really, really struggled with self-doubt with my gifts. I really kept them to myself, and I just felt like I was so stuck. And the academy really helped me move out of that. And so if you're on the fence and if that's kind of where you're at, I highly, highly suggest getting into the academy and working with Corinne. So Gail, you're saying that your intuition was simple in visuals while the records were like intense guidance with some visuals. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds a lot like the records. Just it's the I find the guidance from the records is just so thorough. So I would suggest watching this replay. You have the prayer that you can pause the replay on, open your records, get the guidance, close your records at the end. So I hope you enjoy this and have a lot of fun with it. So thanks for joining me today, and I will see you again soon. Bye, everyone.